So, you want to bag your BMW E90. Hello and welcome to a new video. It's been a while since we did a catalog video. Ironically, the BMW E90 is one of our earliest builds in Fitment, dating back 2020, early 2019 I think, or late 2019 I think. And ironically, ito yung kotseng wala pang catalog sa amin ngayon. And now, ngayon lang kami nagagawa ng catalog after doing a year or more than a year of So You Want to Bag Your Vehicle, kung anumang kotseng meron ka. So welcome! Itong video na to, it will serve a purpose to educate you kung meron kang ganitong kotse. If you have the same car, we'll show you how to bag that car, paano namin ginawa yung front suspension, rear suspension layout, trunk layout, saan namin nilagay yung system and whatnot. So welcome back. It's been a while talaga. The BMW E90, a very, very good and famous and probably the most common na E9 or BMW model na nakikita natin sa Pilipinas for a good reason. The E90 is actually a sedan, a four-door sedan that BMW produced to replace the E46. And this, with the E90, came with a very, very good stance platform. So, i-discuss natin lahat yun later. Okay? This is all the introduction of the car. I just want to highlight that this client is also from Baguio. The client's right beside me, sir. Hello, thank you for coming along and trusting Fitment. So, client is all the way from Baguio. We're doing our final checks. And it's going to be a crucial build kasi malayo siya. He's going to be our second client sa Baguio. And we're gonna be also doing another BMW E90, taga Baguio din siya. So, full circle, di ba? So, enough of that. Please lend me your ears. And we're going to be discussing the technical details of this car, the front suspension, rear suspension. So, strap in your thinking hats as we dive into the technical details. And after that, let's discuss the potential of the BMW E90. Alright, hello and welcome to the front suspension of this BMW E90. Right out of the bat, we are greeted with a McPherson type strut. Ibig sabihin, pag McPherson strut, kumakabig, pumipihit, umiikot. Yung shocks natin, or in English, this assembly rotates upon the shocks axis, causing it to turn like this, okay? So, kaya siya ganun is because the McPherson type strut design has a bearing on top, and to save on parts, this is actually a cheaper version of the wishbone suspension. So, all in all, this is actually a stock suspension converted to air springs. As you can see, we just slapped in our air springs here, removed our spring catch, and we replaced it with an air spring, utilizing the stock suspension, adjusting the stopper on the bottom side para mag-drop na mas mababa. And then, of course, we had to route our airlines according to the brake lines para wala tayong problema. So this is the brake lines. Unfortunately, it went up and over. But for our hose line, we just followed the brake lines, gave it a bit of slack, and it went to our fitting right there. So yun lang naman ang ating kailangan malaman or the things we need to remember on the front side of the suspension ng BMW E90. So, it's quite roomy. This is actually the fat bellow bag. Maluwag naman siya. Spacious enough for all types of bags na pwede mong gamitin dito. Pero nonetheless, you still have to check as this client, okay, will be driving this car far away. Okay? That's going to be it for the front suspension of the BMW E90. As you can see, very simple lang. Nothing too dramatic or nothing too different from any other suspension type that we do. Okay? Things to remember, McPherson type strut. Follow the hose line here on the brake lines. Okay? Spacious enough for any type of bag. But that is going to be it for the front side. Now, let's move on to the back side of the suspension and let's actually discuss what are the interesting parts of the rear suspensions ng BMW E90 na ito. Hey, hello and welcome to the rear suspension of the BMW E90. So as you can see, we are meted with a divorced suspension layout, okay? And right out of the bat, sasabihin ko sa inyo, this has been by far the most difficult rear suspension or one of the most difficult rear suspension na nagawa namin due to the nature of the clearances, okay? We have an axle here. The airbag's actually pretty close to the axle. The shocks itself is quite close to the airbag. The tow arm is quite close to the airbag as well. So yan yung mga kailangan nating iwasan, okay? Having a very, very predefined setup dito sa likod is yung challenge natin. We actually revised our design for the E90. Our hose line is now on the top, going to the chassis, as you can see. And remember, as the suspensions travel, hindi gumagalaw tong top part, only the bottom part. So we just put the hose line there to prevent some hazard to the hose line. So, as nasabi ko kanina, it is quite difficult to build the E90. So make sure your builder, okay, will be very, very aware of the hazards of this rear suspension layout. It is actually as difficult as the Lexus rear suspension layout, okay? It's a independent rear suspension, multi-link rear suspension system, and right out of the bat, kitang-kita nyo na agad, masikip talaga siya. I don't know if you can see it, but let's actually point it again. Tow arm here, isang daliri ko na lang. Shocks here, isang daliri ko na lang. Axle here, isang daliri ko na lang din. Let's not forget, meron pa tayo sa likod, meron pa tayong meron pa tayo dito subframe na kailangang iwasan sa likod. So overall, this really poses a big threat for amateur builders na hindi alam yung ginagawa nila, and it could be very, very detrimental or catastrophic kung hindi mo to maaayos talaga. So nonetheless, we were able to, you know, put a bit of offset on the bag, and we actually made sure all the clearances are okay. We are using a standard bag here because the rear side of the suspension ng ating BMW is quite heavy or quite difficult to lift. So having a small bag will not work, and having a standard bag will not fit properly. So we used a slim double bellow bag, and we did our offsets, and okay na siya. So ito ang pinakamahirap na part ng sa rear suspension ng kotseng ito, is putting the bags right there and having it not rub. Okay? So checking it visually, mukhang okay naman na lahat. This car is going to be released today, so I'm doing my checks. So that's going to be it for the rear suspension of this car. Quite close clearances, but we nailed it. Okay? So doon naman tayo sa likod, sa layout ng kotse, where we will discuss kung ano ang ginamit ng may-ari sa system niya. Alright, hello and welcome sa rear layout or the trunk layout ng ating BMW E90. Before we start or before we begin, I need to reiterate or I need to explain sa inyo na ang E90 ay walang, okay? Wala siyang spare tire, okay? You actually open it, you just get a small space sa ilalim. I don't know if you can see it, but this does not have a spare tire, okay? Yun lang naman ang gusto ko sabihin before we start. So, it doesn't also have a space for a tank setup sa ilalim. So, walang choice yung client kundi dyan ilagay yung setup sa likod ng upuan. Okay? One thing to note is that the cargo space ng BMW E90 is quite spacious. We actually just occupied 1/4 or a third of the space. Okay? So, that being said, you still have a lot of space for your groceries, bags, whatever. Okay? We do have to, in fact, put our system on the backside because there's no other way to put it. Okay? We are just sporting a very, very basic layout. Okay? Nothing fancy because this is a daily car. You don't want something failing on your daily car. Okay? We have our tank system on the back. Okay? Compressors on the right. Our valve and module on the left side. We are sporting our Fitment engineering 3rd generation. Okay? It doesn't require a pressure switch anymore, so that will actually push the maintenance of the car up to 1 year. So, clean layout lang, black system, black flooring, small pedestal layout, and that's it. Malinis lang lahat, fully insulated lahat ng mga wires, and we actually have proper industrial sockets, a proper case for your module, unlike some shops. So, yun lang naman ang gusto ko sabihin sa likod. Okay? Nothing else to discuss. Napakasimpleng layout at napakalinis lang ng pagkakagawa ng boys. Okay? Just doing a double check on everything, checking if okay lahat ng layout. Mukha namang okay tayo. And so, we proceed. Let's drop the car and actually discuss what is nice about and what is good about the BMW E90 as we head to the conclusion of this video. Hello and welcome back sa outro ng ating video. As you can see or as you have seen, let's have a summary. The front suspension of the BMW E90 is actually a McPherson type strut Very common for all cars of this age. Rotating yung body niya, so it's a bit dangerous to route your hose lines. Okay? Sa likod naman, I've said kanina, it's the most difficult type of suspension na pwede namin gawin sa kotse. An independent multi-link rear suspension like a Lexus. Very, very difficult. Ang daming sasabitan. Trunk layout is very easy, spacious, and straightforward. So, ngayon, on this part of the video, gusto ko ipakita sa inyo yung dynamics ng kotse as we start up the car and lift the car to the highest ng pwede siya. So the BMW E90, let's actually discuss yung kanyang front suspension muna. On the front side, he is using Bilstein shock. So it's a suspension na OEM type. So basically a stock suspension siya. He has about 5-finger clearance. That's good enough to clear all of his obstacles. Ang rolling height niya ay around 1-finger gap lang. So that's a lot of clearance to traverse to obstacles like 60 millimeters of clearance. So, give or take yon. And then sa likod naman, we have about 3 to 4 fingers ng clearance sa likod because the wheel well sa likod ng kotseng ito ay laging mas maliit rather than the front. The front has a bigger arch kasi andun yung steering wheel or yung steering action. So, we're gonna drop the car. Car's fully dropped on the floor. We're actually going to discuss the front side of the suspension or the front side of the car. To address the elephant in the room, we have a 2-finger gap sa unahan. That's fine. We are still going to drop this lower because the only reason na hindi namin ito sinagad is because he is actually rocking a very fat tires. Okay? So makapal yung goma niya sa unahan. He needs to change to a 215/35. That's fine. Ito ang itsura niyan. Pag nabagsak namin, sobrang baba na. So we can still drop the front. So that will be done later on. Since wala tayong available goma, the car is currently sitting on this type of height muna to compensate or iwasan muna natin yung goma baka kasi tamaan yung airbag. So, yun. We're going to have to address that after we get the tires. But for now, in the catalog, yan yung drop. And ito naman yung drop pag fully drop na siya. On the back side naman, very straightforward. Nakatak yung ating fitment sa likod because, sabi ko nga kanina, mas maliit yung wheel well or yung wheel arch sa likod, giving that illusion na nakatak yung wheels mo. This is very common for BMW E90, E46, E36, laging mukhang nakatak yung likod natin. Okay? This is actually very different. Pag naka-Z ka, Z3, Z4, pantay halos yung wheel arch na ng konti. But nonetheless, yun yung ating summary ng kotseng ito. Is the BMW E90 a good platform for stunts? Yes. As I've said, ito yung una namin ginawa. So as you can see, it's a really banger of a car. Has a lot of potential. Beamers, in technicality or straightforward, is magandang stance car. Every other BM talaga maganda. So you get what you have with the BM. Good platform, good stance, and a lot of aftermarket. So malakas ang potential ng BMW E90. If you do have an E90 or a BMW, okay? This is how to do it. This is how to bag your car. What do you think? Okay ba siya? Do wheels fitment? Para sa akin, I like the black on black. Okay? Malinis yung kotse. And that's it. That is to summarize the BMW E90. Okay? So you want to bag your BMW E90. This is how. If you have questions, clarifications, if you want to verify something, comment down below. Please like and share the video and hit the bell icon for the notification. Subscribe to the channel. That will really help. And that is all the time we have for the BMW E90. As you can see, I'm trying to rush it kasi the client still has to prep to go to Baguio. I don't have much time. I only borrowed the car for a few hours para ma-shoot natin siya and to do the final check. So, that's going to be it. It's been Cal from Fitment Engineering and you're watching Fitment TV. And I'll see you on the next episode.